Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. In today's session, we're going to be covering how to take actionable insight from real-time data pipelines. And then following that, we will do the bit that you're all here probably to see, is a live build of an end-to-end data pipeline. So my name's Alex Booth. I'm the Business Development Manager here for Qlik UK. I've seen a few familiar names pop up already, so hopefully most of you know me. We've also got Mark and Adam joining us, and I'll sort of go into a bit more of their introductions shortly. As you can see on point 2, we are going to cover a live use case and the benefits that that particular customer has seen from using QCDI, and then also how to best position data integration within your own business. Some of you who are joining today may be having conversations about how to position it, how to look at it, and how you can understand the benefits that you will get from bringing it into your own businesses. And then before we sort of get into the live demo session, we probably all need to understand the architecture that actually drives QCDI and the real-time data integration piece. And then following that, we'll cover the live demonstration, and that will go through an end-to-end build of a data pipeline. And then I'll just introduce you to the guys that are running today's session. So firstly, we have Mark James, who's our data integration specialist here at Qlik. He's joined us following a 10-year career with Qlik. He'll be delivering the live build demo session today. And I will apologise in advance, he still says we a lot, but I'm guessing that's what a 10-year career at Qlik does. And then we've got Adam, and thanks again, Adam Mayer, for joining us from Qlik, who's the Global Products Marketing Manager. Adam's been with Qlik over 7 years, and in that time span covered several solutions within both Qlik Data Analytics and also the QDI platform, which we'll be talking about today, and specifically quite a lot around the CDC, which is the change capture piece. He's also got a keen technical interest in IoT and GDPR, with the latter of the two being probably a much smaller club, I'm sure we can agree. With all that said, I'll hand over to Adam, who's going to kick us off with the customer case studies and more about what is data integration. Thanks, Adam.
Nice one. Thanks, Alec. Great introduction, and thank you very much for making me look slim as well. So so I'm Adam from Qlik, and we'll talk about some of the things through use cases that could help you understand a little bit more why you want to consider data integration. So if we go on to the next slide, Mark, we can go through each of those use cases. So these are some typical use cases that I thought I'd walk you through to give you an understanding of different kind of ways that Qlik data integration can help. So the first one is very much Qlik specific, and this is really unlocking the value of the combination of data integration and analytics provided by Qlik. So this is about delivering data into your Qlik environment, and if you're familiar with the new capacity capabilities and pricing with Qlik Cloud Analytics, data integration from Qlik is actually included as part of that. And this is about unlocking data that may reside on-premise data, in cloud sources, wherever it may be, and delivering that in a kind of more real-time fashion into your Qlik environment. It can deliver it directly into QBDs as well, and that can then sort of help increase the efficiency and performance within your whole Qlik environment, so you're always getting access to the freshest data that's available. And we'll go on to a case study on how that full end-to-end analytics, real-time analytics pipeline can really deliver value in a customer. But it's important to note that Qlik data integration isn't mutually exclusive to Qlik Analytics. Qlik's always been data agnostic, and Qlik data integration is actually BI tool agnostic as well. So while we believe that's when you really unlock the true power of an end-to-end analytic pipeline by using both together, you can use other environments as well. So that kind of is a nice segue to move to the next use case around query offloading. So this is about having data kind of locked up. You've got really valuable data locked up in mission critical systems like mainframes, like SAP, maybe legacy systems, homegrown systems, those kind of stuff. And if you have to access those directly and start querying them directly, that can really start hammering and impacting the performance of those mission critical systems. So the last thing you want to do is bring those to their knees, particularly kind of near end of month reporting or end of quarter, end of year reporting. So query offloading is about the ability to unlock that data from those systems and then deliver that, replicate it to where you need it to be. More often than not these days, it's out into the cloud as part of more modernization, transformation strategies and programs that you have in place. And Qlik data integration is ideal placed for that because it places minimum impact on those source systems and it delivers fresh data. So it's about change data capture, capturing those changes as and when they occur on those systems, and then deliver them in the format they need to be wherever that is. And we have a good example of that in a customer called Vanguard, large financial services customer, and they're moving really huge volumes of data from their mainframes out into AWS as their chosen cloud provider, and they're using microservices to really reinvent and improve and the services that they're delivering out to their customers. Another use case is around data warehouse and data lake automation. Even data lake houses are becoming more popular now. This is more prevalent in technology providers or cloud data platforms like Snowflake and Databricks, one of the two leading platforms out there, but there are many others as well. But Qlik data integration is not only about delivering data, it's about being able to transform it as well. And it can be quite complex in building out warehouses and lake houses. It can take a lot of hundreds of lines of code to deliver that. And we provide automation as part of that process. It really helps take the heavy lifting out and help to speed up delivery and really start seeing faster returns on these kind of projects, when you're data projects and initiatives, when you're building out your warehouses. A great example of that is a customer we have in eWorld's Cargo Care, and they saw over 400% in their ROI. So it's a really great return on investment there. And then the last one is to touch upon is the data streaming side of things. So we can also deliver real time anyway through change data capture, capturing those changes as they occur and delivering where you need it to be. But we can also convert your databases into real-time streams into streaming data platforms. So, based around Kafka, that's the most popular one. But there are also other instances around there. All the different hyperscalers have their own kind of flavor. Google has PubSub, Microsoft have Event Hubs, and Amazon have Kinesis, to name but a few. But we can, again, automate that process, do the conversion for you, and it can really take a lot of the heavy lifting out, which in these projects that can be quite complex. And Generali is a really good example there of a customer who built out an entire platform, again in the financial services, but they've taken advantage of this streaming data to do things like fraud detection and deliver faster, more efficient services out to their customers. So that's a little roundup there, a very high level of the different types of use cases that Qlik data integration is an ideal fit for, and hopefully that fits into some of the projects that you're considering. And then just to sort of bring the top one to life a little bit, if we go into the next slide, we can talk.
Just before we move on, Adam, sorry to interrupt. We will also, in an effort, we will share the case studies that Adam's mentioned as a follow-up email from our marketing colleagues and Alex as well, for your reference and for your reading after this session.
Nice one, thanks, Mark. Yeah, and they're really good examples. You can sort of dig into more details here as well. So just go a little bit into the details in one of those examples. Looking at that full end-to-end data analytics pipeline. Urban Outfitters is a really nice one to talk about. So you've probably seen the stores around, but they're a clothing and accessory retailer, traditionally US based, but they are expanding. You can see they've got well over 550 stores in the US, and expanded out across Europe with 100 stores, and you're starting to see more in the UK as well. But the thing is, with all of those different stores, is they actually have various different systems and technologies in how they handle their data architecture and infrastructure and reporting. So this really started to impact getting a holistic view that they really wanted to, and everything was really manual. They were sitting there compiling reports, gathering information very manually, and that took a lot of time, and it caused some serious backlogs from operational perspective as well. And this was only compounded even further throughout the pandemic, as many other companies sort of found as well. So this really accelerated Urban Outfitters to really push forward with their whole vision, and they wanted to consolidate all of their data, and they were looking to cloud to migrate all their data to, because they really wanted to take advantage of more real-time data, and they wanted to be able to support that in the moment decision making. So they decided on Qlik, and they also chose Snowflake as their cloud data platform of choice, and in partnership we really helped them to deliver their actionable data across many different areas of the business as well. So starting with Qlik data integration, you can see that stat there. They were able to start streaming well over 50 gigabytes of data per day into Snowflake, and that volume only continues to grow across all the stores, looking at various different data from transactions to operational side of things. And for them, real time meant anywhere between kind of 5 minutes and up to 15 minutes, depending on the system. So they really needed to have less than 5 minutes of data to work on around their distribution centers, and they were okay with up to about 15 minutes for their order management systems in terms of more traditional type reporting. And when it comes to reporting, they then chose to use Qlik Analytics as well, to give greater visibility and more actionable insights into their business. So they have well over 240 Qlik apps in production, all helping to provide insights across many different areas, like the store performance, their e-commerce sales, distribution centers, and supply chain logistics as well, to really help optimize and create more efficiencies there. And the good thing about here is, with Qlik data integration, delivering that fresh data in near real time out into Snowflake, and then they're reporting on top of that. They were able to bring in a lot of automation and help accelerate various different ways in terms of how they process data, how they respond to queries across the organization and customers, and really help them to become more flexible and adaptable. So we helped them to automate the production of their store reports and made them instantly available, as opposed to, in terms of example, what that brought to them is one routine report that was quite important, that they relied on a lot, really came from all the different stores, and it took a store manager a lot of manual effort, many hours a week, to put that all together, and that became instantly available with the solution that they put in place with Qlik and Snowflake. So the real thing here, and it's really important in retail that I really like, is that real-time data really gives both managers and the staff those actionable insights when and where they need it the most, and it really enables the managers then to spend more time out on the sales floor and help grow the business and do bigger and better things, rather than being bogged down in the back office, wading through data and trying to compile reports and make sense out of the information. So it's a really nice story there in terms of how the whole end-to-end pipeline helped them deliver more actionable data. So moving on there in terms of a bit of a positioning piece, if we just go to the next slide, in terms of product positioning, to try and sort of wrap that all together, where Qlik data integration fits there is about being able to provide what we call a data integration fabric, and quite a powerful one that is really aimed at your data engineers, your data architectures, DBAs, database admins, those kind of folks, to be able to deliver, transform, and unify your enterprise data, and start delivering those real-time, automated, governed, and most importantly, reusable data pipelines. So it's about getting the most valuable data that you've got locked up in various systems, wherever it resides, and delivering that out into, more often than not, cloud-based platforms. And that's part of enabling you to modernize and transform your whole data strategies and that will only benefit your organization. And to go sort of one layer down, if we go to the next slide, Mark, we can have a look at the overall sort of portfolio just to see where it fits. This is quite a nice sort of overview slide. So on the left-hand side, we've got data integration, and that's only being expanded now with the acquisition of Talon. So you may have heard that we acquired Talon recently, and that's really exciting because that's only going to broaden the whole breadth of capabilities across data integration and give best-in-class capabilities there as well. We've got the analytics side that many of you on the call probably already know and love through the associative engine, the ability to embed and report on there and interact with your visualizations, but also take action, automate action, and take it further through alerting, AutoML, and automated workflows. But both of those sides of the camp, like I said, they are agnostic of each other, but you can use them together, and both of those are fed through these important foundational services at the bottom that you can see. And it means that we can integrate with a whole ecosystem of hyperscalers, so your cloud is our cloud, as well as hot technology partners like Snowflake and Databricks, depending on where you want to put your data. So that's the broader picture of it, and you'll hear more information in the coming weeks and months in terms of what's going to happen with the Talent acquisition and how we're going to make some interesting innovation with that. But today we're going to focus in purely on the Qlik Cloud data integration, and Mark's going to show you how you can build quite easily a solid, robust data real-time data pipeline into Snowflake. So with that, I'll hand over to Mark, and he can go into much more technical detail. And he's got an awesome demo to show you as well. So Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Adam. All right, can you hear me okay? Yeah, great. Yeah, Adam, thank you. So yeah, thank you for your piece, Adam. This is just to go into slightly more technical detail around how data is acquired and moved through the Qlik Cloud Data Integration platform, taking into account both on-premise and cloud-based data sources. So just to take you through this with this graphic, and to explain this graphic, on the left-hand side, we see a whole raft of enterprise data sources from typical ERP systems with SAP, on-premise databases of MySQL and SQL Server, and mainframes as well, so AS400 systems, for example. And a lot of customers these days are quite rightly being very security conscious of their data, and Qlik needs to address that, and how Qlik can actually allow for that data to be accessed, but still remain behind the secure corporate firewall. This introduces a new piece of technology called the Data Movement Gateway. As you see in the graphic, this resides behind the corporate firewall, but provides secure access for the Qlik Cloud Data Integration platform to orchestrate the movement of data from your on-premise data sources into a cloud data target of choice. So you'll see in my demonstration later, we've got a MySQL database that I'm moving data into a Snowflake cloud data warehouse, for example. So this is using the secure Linux-based data movement gateway, again, that resides behind your corporate firewall that the cloud data integration orchestrates. Now, if we couple that together with cloud data sources, such as Salesforce, HubSpot, Oracle, NetSuite alike, that is effectively going through and being orchestrated again through the Qlik Cloud Data Integration platform and landed into a cloud data target of choice. And what we're seeing is how the two different types of data sources, a hybrid approach, can actually be seamlessly addressed through this low-code or no-code interface through Qlik Cloud Data Integration to create your analytics-ready data structure, either in a data lake or a data warehouse in Snowflake, Databricks, Azure Synapse, Google BigQuery, and alike. So that's how we're using the Data Movement Gateway. And just to briefly talk about data movement from an enterprise sources perspective with regards to QBDs. We spoke around data movement already with the Data Movement Gateway behind your firewall. And we need to move that data into the Qlik Cloud into Qlik Cloud for analytics purposes. How we do that is using effectively landing and storage tasks, but coupling that with an AWS S3 bucket. It's a very cost-effective approach to effectively store both full load and change tables full load and change tables into a landing zone in your S3 bucket. We'll talk more in detail on my demonstration around change tables in a short while, but effectively that's an audit log, if you like, of all of the changes that are being captured by the data movement gateway. As part of that storage task as well, it takes an ELT approach and an extract, load, and transform approach to apply those changes and merge them with the full load into the QBDs. So you have a customer's QBD, an order details QBD, and a like. And then those QBDs can then become data sources and an effect for your Qlik Cloud Analytics apps. It's worthwhile mentioning that there is actually a maximum or minimum cadence, however you want to see it, that at maximum, there is a 15-minute application that only up to every 15 minutes that the QBDs will be refreshed in their current state according to the changes. So that's as Adam mentioned, a no cost, a completely free approach for customers to use to land their data in near real time into a QBD format on the Qlik Cloud platform. So without further ado, we're actually going to go into a demonstration. And in this demonstration, I'm using a completely fictitious retail organization who are interested in stock management and order fulfillment. And I'm taking a slightly different approach to this. I'm calling it Here's What I Made Earlier. So those of you who know the Blue Peter reference, effectively, I'm going to start with the finished product first to show you what's capable with the Qlik Cloud Data Integration platform. What we're going to start with is the Qlik, an app that I built in Qlik Cloud Analytics for order and stock management. And then I'm going to introduce you to another component which we haven't spoke about yet, called Qlik Application Automation, or QAA for short. This is effectively an orchestration engine that uses, again, a low-code or no-code interface to orchestrate applications that are web API based, and also, more importantly, orchestrate Qlik Cloud itself. And what we're doing here is the Qlik Application Automation is taking a change from my analytics app, my order and stock management app, and applying that to an underlying MySQL database. So changing an order volume or an order quantity, for example, and that's been written to MySQL. Qlik Cloud Data Integration then is effectively listening out for those changes using an agentless approach, a log-based approach to look at those changes, in my case, an order details table, for example, and deliver those changes in near real time into the data integration through the data integration pipeline into a Snowflake data warehouse. From that, then I can actually now then refresh the same Qlik Cloud app from those updated Snowflake data warehouse. And finally, Qlik alerting can be used to actually monitor whether an order can be fulfilled or not. So we're seeing a whole stack, if you like, a whole raft of Qlik applications that are being used here within this demonstration. So without further ado, I'm going to switch to my screen. Adam or Alex, can I ask you just to just come off mute and tell me you see my screen still okay?
Yeah, looking good.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. So we've got a few different tabs here. I'm just to talk you through the tabs. The first tab is the Qlik Cloud Data Integration project, which we'll come into in a short while. The next tab is the Qlik Application Automation. And then finally, we have our Qlik Sense app. And we also have Snowflake, where we'll see the changes being captured in a short while. So here within this Qlik Cloud application, we've got a very simple table with a RAG status applied for orders based upon their quantity and whether we can actually fulfill that order using either units in stock or a total of units in stock and units on order. So if I look at this particular order ID of 10248, we can see we've got three orders. We've got three orders here. One is actually not okay to complete at the moment because we've got a 40 in quantity and we've got 26 in stock and none on order. So we can't complete that order. But actually, we've just received an update from the customer with regards to product ID 11, Queso Cabrales. They want to change this order. They want to change the quantity. So we're going to actually change the quantity here to 23. And the ID is 11, so we can leave that the same. And here we're going to press update order. This is now going off and triggering an application automation In real life, of course, you might make these changes yourself in your underlying database, but I'm just using application automation here to trigger that or to write that change. If we look at the automation and the history, we'll see that change is actually going through. Effectively, what this is doing is capturing some variables from the application and using those variables to actually write the SQL statement and updating that in the MySQL database. So if we now come back into Cloud Data Integration, we will see the landing area, the first component, and this is actually capturing our changes. And we've actually already captured that change. So see how quick that was? It's gone from, believe me, that was 20 before. It's now actually captured that change already and delivered that in a processed change. We see that we've actually got full load and the changes themselves. So if I switch back into the project, I'll talk through what's actually happened. So we've actually captured a change. I'm going to switch into Snowflake actually and show you the full load table. So in our landing area, this has been generated by QCDI, and we see our full load of order details, for example. I just need to select the warehouse to show you this. So that's our full load. And more importantly, we can actually now see the changes, so the change tables. So a before and update operator. So the before image, for example, here was 10 and what was 10 and 11, and effectively that's a change that's been captured. So that change has already been captured and populated in the change table. So now what we're seeing is the storage area is being updated. That's now running. That's completed. The transformation stage is actually running as well. I just actually stop that one because that seems to. This one. Of course, you're going to have some demo demons during the webinar, aren't you? There we go. So that's the transform stage, and the data mart stage is now being component is actually running as well to update the data mart. Well, I'll actually go through these in isolation when we do the build, but effectively what we are going to see is that the data mart is being updated. There we go. So the data mart has now been updated. So if the demo demons are playing nicely with me, I should now be able to reload, and we'll see from the data warehouse. There we go. So that quantity has now been updated to 23. The RAG status says that we're actually more than our units in stock, but coupled together with the units on order, we're still able to complete that order. So the order completion status is saying okay. What we'll also see, for those who just triggered it, they'll capture that. We'll see a notification has just come in, and this is a Qlik alert to see that alert has been alerted to me. This alert can be delivered via email, for example, also into the Qlik cloud application on your mobile, on Android, on iOS, and that is effectively the full end-to-end demo in a very brief fashion. What we've done, again to reiterate, is I've made a change here. I delivered that change into my MySQL database using Qlik application automation, and then in the data project, I can see that change being captured, and as you'll see there, it's actually already triggering through again to capture any more changes and deliver that into the data mart. So that's the full end-to-end demo. Now we're probably hearing you cry in silence, how do we actually build this? So I'm going to show you this now in building this from scratch in a new data project. So to do that, I'm going to click to go back into the home area in data integration. How you actually access this, by the way, for those who aren't aware, is through this launcher menu, and you'll see your analytic services area that you're probably used to, your application automation area, and here in data integration is where we're going to look at first of all. So I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to call this webinar demo. Hopefully, I'm going to use the data movement space, which is where actually our data movement gateway resides. I'm going to choose the data platform of Snowflake, because we've used this already, but it's worthwhile mentioning, if I click through, these are all of the different other platforms that Qlik Cloud Data Integration supports. And interestingly, they've actually released a support recently for SQL Server on premise or of any variance as a target as well. So I'm going to choose Snowflake as our data platform. I'm going to select my connection, test this is all okay. That's great. And I'm going to deliver this into Snowflake. So I'm going to create this project. Now, as we go to create this project, we've got two different approaches to be able to load this data in. We can either onboard the data, which we're going to do use in a minute, or we can register the data. Register the data is effectively allowing us to take such solutions such as Qlik Replicate, so the on-premise version of Qlik data integration, or other solutions, to effectively do the CDC data delivery, but then allow Qlik Cloud Data Integration to take that landed data, that processed data, and register that and use that as part of the Qlik Cloud Data Integration project. But to keep things simple, I'm just going to go down the onboard data route, and I'm going to call this the onboarding. So I'm going to call this webinar Northwind onboarding. And here we're going to see the different sources we've got available. So I'm going to use MySQL, test the connection. Everything should be great. There we go. So we've got the connection now to MySQL, again going through the data movement gateway. And we can address a mixture of tables, views, or both. And I'm just going to simply look at Snowflake. Look at Northwind and choose some tables from my Northwind schema. I want to choose 8, so I'm going to choose categories, customers, employees, order details, orders, products, shippers, and suppliers. So I'm going to count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got our eight different explicitly chosen data sets. We can actually select or define a rule as well. So something like a .star notation, for example, which effectively means from this point on, any other entity that's been created can be addressed as well by defining a rule. But I'm going to keep things simple and just actually use these 8 explicitly defined data sets. Here, we're going to use CDC to monitor any changes. And this allows us to address type 2 dimensionality. So effectively, what's the current state of a dimension of an attribute and what is this historical state? Effectively creating an audit table like we saw there with the change tables. So this is going to create a landing and storage component. I'm not going to bother changing the names or descriptions. And I will go into the landing component first. This is going to create the full load and the change tables as we saw already. And I'm going to talk about the concept here of rules. And these can be business rules for various different used for various different reasons. So one such thing is I'm going to be delivering to the Snowflake. And it's a sort of a rule that I understand and a convention that attributes and entities, tables and fields all should be uppercase type. So I'm going to add 2 rules to allow me to do this. So the first rule is to rename the data sets. I'm going to leave the scope to be across all the tables, and I'm going to change the case to be uppercase. And this will be upper tables. There we go. So we see the entities themselves have all been converted to uppercase. Just add another rule here to rename the columns. In a similar vein, change the case to uppercase. And this one's going to be column. And you'll notice that all of the fields have been uppercase, if that's a word. What I'm also going to show here then is actually how we can create an entirely new field or entity. So my order details, I've got quantity, unit price, discount, but I want to create a revenue metric, revenue attribute. So I'm going to call this revenue. Again, manually typing this in uppercase. I'm going to leave this as a numeric type field with the precision and scale already defined. So I'm happy with that. And I'm now going through, again, all through a completely UI-driven interface. And I'm going to define how revenue is going to be calculated. So I'm going to say quantity times unit price. And I'm going to be a bit funky by actually taking into account discount. So 1 minus discount. Extracting parameters, I can actually test this. So 10 times 10 and a 20% discount. If my maths serves me correct, that should come to 80, which is good. So that's now me creating this revenue attribute. This is now in the ready to prepare stage. I can validate to just to actually see anything I've done is correct and fit to standard. If I now prepare this, what this is going off to do is actually going off to create these artifacts. At the moment, there's not actually any tables in my Snowflake data database. So this is actually going off to, first of all, generate the statements that are going to be pushed down into Snowflake for execution, and then creating all of the entities and attributes according to what I've defined. It's worthwhile noting that I've actually got quite a small Snowflake data warehouse. So this is sort of dependent upon the speed of Snowflake and the performance of the data movement gateway. This could and probably will run a lot faster if you put more oomph behind the Snowflake data warehouse effectively. So we're now ready to run. And this is now completing a full load of those 8 tables. And in a short while, we'll see effectively, if I draw your attention to the bottom here, in the full load status, we'll see metrics around how long it's taken and how many rows have been affected, or how many records have been loaded into Snowflake. What you'll see, what actually is the outcome of this is, as you saw very briefly at the beginning, you'll see a pairing of the full load and the change tables being created as part of this full load. So let's go back into my data task. There we go. So the full load has been now complete, and this is now constantly running. So this is now going to listen out for any changes in CDC. But now what I want to do is actually carry on with this with the storage component. And here we could actually do some more rules if we wanted. I'm not going to bother with this because I've shown this off, but I want to introduce you to the scheduling capability, and more importantly, a concept called live views. So I'll try my best to explain what this is and what the benefit of live views is. So if we go to scheduling, we can see that this is not scheduled for execution against a particular time frame. Then switch this on, and we can actually deliver this on an hourly basis, or a daily or a weekly or a monthly basis, whatever you like. But I'm going to focus here on the interval. You'll notice we go from a minute down to 15 minutes, down to various different hour cadences. So how often is this storage component going to run? I'm going to choose every minute, but I'm going to ask you just to keep in mind and perhaps imagine that we're going to run this every 4 or 6 hours. And this will help me to explain live views in a short while. But every minute is going to allow me to do this demonstration within the hour's time. So bearing in mind, then we've got this on let's say a 4-hour or 6-hour window. And now I'm going to come into the settings and talk around live views. Live views are effectively a cost-effective way to provide a live and up-to-date view for the likes of Alex as a sales representative to say, okay, tell me what the live and up-to-date view for order ID 10248 or my customer is with regards to their current order state, which is what live views is there for. But there is a cost effectively to that in Snowflake and alike for providing that compute capability. So you're going to have to be a bit clever on how we do this. So we can switch live views off across all of the tables, which is reducing the cost. But then what we can do is switch the live view on only for the order details table. So that creates that. You'll see here as well, generated SQL. This is the SQL statements, or these are the SQL statements that would get created for example, the current live view. And I don't know about you, but I certainly wouldn't be able to write this myself off the cuff and off the bat without any errors. So this is generating the SQL statements accurately to be pushed down into Snowflake for execution. So again, finally, I'm just going to prepare this. When this is finished, I will run this component for storage. You'll see, you'll bear in mind again, this is now running on this minute by minute frequency. So we're almost done. again, we just got to wait for the full load to complete. There we go, the full load is completed. And if I now go back, we now want to actually go and bring in a transform component. So webinar transform. Now, transform is interesting. This is actually, as the name suggests, is a transform component. It does more heavy, has capabilities for more heavy lift transformations. We can do simple field creations, as we've already demonstrated. But what we can actually do is add the data sets, as we see in a short while. But what we can here also do is, for example, choose categories and products and add a SQL-based data set. And what this is allowing me to do is say simple command. You can see I've done this a few times already. And I can create some, trust me, a lot more advanced examples than I can show in 2 seconds. But then, for example, going from that. So what this is allowing me to do is, if you've got some quite advanced SQL scripts that you're already using, perhaps in other incumbent solutions, you can effectively plug and play these scripts into QCDI for the transformation. QCDI will take care of that and actually execute those in the schedule to do the transformations you like. So that is the more advanced capability we have with transform. Again, with the data sets, we can add some more rules if we wish, but I'm just going to skip forward now to modeling. And this is actually the model that's going to underpin the data mart. So what I've chosen here is the recommended relationships, and this is building the entity relationships against the inherent fields. So similar to what you would have seen with Qlik Sense or Qlik Cloud Analytics. One relationship has not been completed. It's between orders and shippers. So we're actually going to add this relationship ourselves between orders and shippers. And I know that the relationship or the key field I need is ship via. So I'm going to add this now, and we'll see that that model is now complete. I just need to simply apply this, and we'll see the model there complete. And the final bit I need to do is now do scheduling. The difference here is this is effectively dependent upon the task, the last task of the storage task. So only when the storage task has been complete that you'll see that component finished, executed, I'm sorry. So finally, I'm going to prepare this component. Again, in a similar fashion, this is creating the artifacts, it's creating the SQL statements that's being pushed down into the Snowflake data warehouse for execution. And now this particular component has been created. The last piece I wanted to show you is now the data mart component. Notice you can directly skip, if you wanted, into data marts. You don't have to do a transform if you so wish. But I'm just showing you all the components. I'm going to create here a data mart. It'll all become clear in a minute why I'm starting everything with webinar. Let's move over to the webinar data mart stage. And this is now going to create our sort of star schema, again in an automated fashion for the purpose of analytics. So the first thing I need to do is add my fact. If I choose I want to use order details as my fact, but note here I can actually denormalize other tables such as orders into my fact. So I'm going to choose order details and orders denormalized, and that will be my main fact table. I'm going to add the dimensions. You can choose as many or as many or as few dimensional fields as you want. So I'm just going to choose actually all of them. So categories, go through this quicker. Customers, employees. I'm going to skip orders and order details because they're in our fact table. So products. Let's just check. Yeah, as I skip those products, shippers, and suppliers. Now, based upon the fact that I built that model in the previous stage of transform, when I now look at the recommended dimensions or the recommendations, we'll see that we have our completed star schema. It's dashed line yet, so it's not actually completely built. So if I press apply, that's now our model being built. And the last thing I need to do is actually switch on the schedule again, which is dependent upon the webinar transform component being successfully executed. So if I now press prepare, with the water while this is running. Again, keep in mind that this is now generating the same similar SQL statements that are going to be delivered in a push down into Snowflake, for example, sorry, to be executed. And equally, some customers actually take like a two-phase approach. So they might start off with an on-premise SQL server for their data warehouse, and then later choose to actually deliver that to Snowflake. In a similar vein to on-premise Qlik Compose, this will actually notice that you're delivering to a new data warehouse in Snowflake and actually say, would you like me to generate the new commands and actually execute into the data warehouse? And that's all there as part of the parcel and the flexibility. So that's again a very quick whistle-stop tour of how we built this. We've taken the landing stage, which is dealing with the change data capture. We've taken storage and we've added that new field of revenue, and I've introduced you to live views. We've done a bit around transformation. Here is where we've talked about adding a new SQL-based data set, if you so wish. So if you've got some examples of some quite complex SQL statements, that can be adopted there. And finally, I'm using the data mart component to create that data mart. So without further ado, what I'm just going to actually do is switch back into design, and I'll show you. So webinar data mart is webinar data mart is the tables it's created. And if I refresh this in Snowflake now, what we'll see, webinar data mart, and it's created views only because they are views. And in the order details table, for example, we can see a data preview of all of the orders that are, all of the entities and transactions within the order details table. Again, as you'll appreciate, this is all completely UI driven, so I've not even had to touch any SQL statements to write this. This has all been orchestrated and generated by the Qlik Cloud Data Integration. And I'm just going to actually show you, if you wouldn't mind as well, just give me a second. I will go into showing you what actually has happened with the live views. Webinar NW onboarding storage. Webinar NW onboarding storage, that's been waited. And again, here with live view with views, you'll see all of the changes in the history tables, but only a live view has been created for order details. So that is a way for us to actually manage the costs for the likes of Alex to go and actually query at the moment, at any time, what is the current state of play with regards to an order or his particular customer. Okay, so that is that really. You've seen all the way through. By the way, this is all running, so it's picking up any changes, and that's actually the demonstration complete. So that leaves me just to go back into the slides. There we go. So we've spoken around the demo scenario. Just to wrap that up, we've looked at Qlik Sense application, updating a record into MySQL using Qlik application automation. We've taken QCDI to actually capture any changes in the MySQL database in near real time, delivered that into a cloud data warehouse of choice, in our case Snowflake. The same Qlik Sense application is just reloading from that cloud data warehouse, and I'm delivering an alert. So that's what we've seen in the demonstration. So it leaves me only just to say thank you to Alex and to Adam for their time in delivering this webinar with me today. More importantly, thanks to all the participants that's taken the time during a pretty busy time, I could imagine, for everyone. I hope you found this session informative, insightful and useful. And on the screen, you see myself and Alex. We'd be more than happy to have conversations with you, set up Teams calls, Zoom calls, set up meetings to discuss any projects you may have or any questions you may have. Yeah, and that leaves me that leaves me to the end of the session. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.